the question of the day is it okay to use a little white lie in your resume or in your cover letter? Honesty is a character trait that cannot be feigned. In resumes and any curriculum vitae, including the cover letter, it is of incredible significance for all writing to be free of even the tiniest little white lie. For those who think nothing of using their imagination to make up stories about themselves to impress people around them, doing so with a potential employer could result in the loss of all chances to ever receive the position of employment you are seeking. The truth is, little white lies, as soon as they are found out to be false statements, can deteriorate the trust built within business relationships. Building business relationships can be seen as building blocks. The wooden ones with the little letters on them you may have learned the alphabet from as a child. As adults, we start at the bottom. We are those wooden blocks, touching the floor with nowhere to go but up. Now, if we end up nearing the top of that tower of blocks, waiting to have the last wooden block placed at the pinnacle of our pyramid, and somebody for some reason takes one away from the bottom in order to keep the metaphor of this argument valid, we as building blocks would have to be versatile enough to transfer ourselves from the bottom to the top as the pyramid ascends. Then our entire tower of blocks is destroyed. The foundation has been ruined. There's no tower. Tower is no more. As kids, this was fun, building towers and knocking them down. As adults, when these towers are representing our careers, our reputations along with them, knocking down blocks is a lethal enterprise. So is lying. Employers and other authority roles within an organization or company need to know the workers they hire are trustworthy. Because of this, the people hiring you from the very beginning will be initiating background checks on potential employers they are taking into serious consideration for the available position. If some of the information you give to people who may have been considering hiring you is erroneous or exaggerated, for instance saying you were educated with a non-existent degree or two, or have gained experience in a position you never held, you can quickly ruin all chances of that company looking at another cover letter or resume of yours ever again. Lying is lying, no matter how simple or innocent it may seem at the time. Therefore, it is never advantageous. For honest people who would never consider making little white lies about themselves, lying or exaggerating the truth a bit in order to sound better may seem ridiculous to even think about doing. After all, who would want to make up fictional background stories that could not be backed up? To quote Northey and McKibben from their book Impact, I have right here, a guide to business communication, 7th edition. Be honest. A small lie in your resume is enough to destroy the employer's trust in you, even if it is discovered after you get the job. Integrity is an attribute never worth sacrificing. This advice does not mean that you should lay out your faults or draw attention to errors. It does mean that you should not misinform the reader. End quote. Integrity is a great word. It is a word of greatness. The definition of integrity, according to the Canadian Oxford Dictionary, which I have right here, it's a big book, edited by Catherine Barber, 2nd edition, is moral uprightness, honesty. Not standing by what is true in any kind of position you are applying to creates a hazard for employers, one that, if possible, they will avoid. Since being avoided is not what you want if you want the job you are applying to, make sure that you show by your honesty that your potential employer can trust you and your word. Integrity. Last year's comedy, The Internship, starring Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, other than being a good laugh and a comical look at Google, is a good example of a bad example. Wilson and Vaughn play two characters who, starting off, don't know the difference between online and on the line. As the film advances, one man, Wilson, played by Wilson, gets a savvy foot in computer programming, at least a good beginning. While the other, Vaughn, is left with his smooth-talking personality but little know-how when it comes to Google. In the interview they have via webcam around the children's section of a library because neither owned a webcam. Their credentials mentioned on the resumes Vaughn submitted for the internship are brought into play. Wilson's character, Nick Campbell, is not a physics graduate, but Vince Vaughn's Billy McMahon manages to weasel his way through one heart and nail the job of a lifetime. As nice as this comedy may seem, all polished up, it dodges one tremendous aspect, the background check. The real Google, it goes without saying, would not have hired interns for the summer who said they were currently enrolled in a school, even when they never having heard of that school before, without doing a fact check. Just to verify. While we are not supposed to include a long list of our faults as job solicitors, we have to be willing we have to be willing to admit our weaknesses along with our strengths. All the time making sure that the selling points we include about ourselves are both relevant and true. Steer clear from even the most whitewashed fib, the slightest insincerity, by following this rule of thumb. To yourself be true, and to others be trustworthy.